you want to buy some epic grind shoes, you can support the channel by using the link in the description below. Hey roller booters, welcome back. So you asked and I listened. So a while back on one of my videos, I said, hey, the comment that gets the most upvotes in terms of a video recommendation, I will do my very best to do. Well, Anthony Renbarger won that contest, if it was a contest, and he asked if I would basically make a how-to video of how to skate coping, how to grind coping, which, to be honest, I don't love grinding coping. I can do it, and I'm gonna do my best to teach you how to do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. But if you don't know what coping is, coping on ramps here is the metal top portion. It can either be metal just like this, or like this ramp right over here, it can be pool style coping, which I'll show a close-up of right here. Regardless of what material it's made out of, you can grind this. You've probably seen a lot of people grind it if you've been in the sport for any amount of time. And maybe it's something, that's probably why you're here, because you want to learn how to do it. Well, grinding coping involves two things, really, probably more, but two main things. Riding on a transition, or i.e. a ramp, right? And grinding. So before you try to do and put them both together,
man, together,
you should be able to do them separately first. And that's like the basis of this, of all these how-tos, is really crawl, walk, run kind of phase. Like, don't put the cart before the horse. Learn them in different segments before you start putting things together. Prior to learning how to grinding coping, you need to be able to ride on ramps pretty effectively. Being able to go up and down very, safely, effectively, efficiently, and at least be mildly familiar with how to navigate transitions. You also need to be able to grind prior to grinding coping, right? So find a small practice rail, a small ledge or something, and practice and find what your safety grind is, right? So if you practice grinding, you'll figure out what your safety grind is, whether it's a sole grind, whether it's a Mizu, a P-Star, front side, whatever it is, you'll find that out. And that's what you're gonna be wanting to try to do on the coping, because we don't wanna put too many unfamiliar things all together at once. So stick to your safety grind, whatever that may be. Whatever you do, don't start learning on the biggest ramp at the skate park. Try to find the smallest one you can find. Like this one, nice and small. And before I get too far here, anytime you're skating transitions, especially, please be sure to wear a helmet, especially when you're learning new things, because it can get away from you really quickly. I don't want to see you smack your head. So at a minimum, when you're learning new things, especially on transitions, please wear a helmet. So when you're starting to learn how to grind coping, first thing you really want to do is roll up to the coping and stall it, right? Stall it over and over. And one big common mistake that beginners make is not letting the ramp do the majority of the work, right? Don't try to jump. If you're trying to jump to the coping, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong. Let the ramp do the work for you. Ride all the way up the ramp and let your feet fall into place. Try not to jump prematurely, if that makes sense. So using your safety grind, stall over and over until you can really get nice and comfortable with it. You build that muscle memory and that sight picture of what it's supposed to look like. And if you come out on the flat top, I'd almost encourage that. Focus on just getting the stall, and then don't even worry about dropping back in at this point. So just get the stall down. Once you get the stall down, then find your balance, look where you want to go, and drop back into the obstacle. Once you do that over and over, now you can start coming at a little bit more of an angle and getting a little bit of a slide. And as you know from grinding other obstacles, if you need a little bit of help in sliding, you can always wax the coping a little bit. Just don't let the skateboarders see you. Sorry, skateboarders. And again, once you start sliding, don't be afraid to just come out on the flat top instead of dropping back in. Right now, again, you're just focused on getting that sight picture of what it's supposed to look like, rolling up the ramp and to the coping and getting your feet into position. Once you are able to slide it and you're getting a little bit more comfortable, start to lean back in. Right? One big mistake that beginners make is that they get so wrapped up in the grind that they're doing that they forget about that whole dropping back in portion. It's an afterthought. Either get so focused or excited on the grind that you're doing, you forget to drop back in safely, and that's where things can go wrong. So make sure that's kind of the overarching backdrop of these coping grinds, is never forget that you have to drop back in at the end of this grind, right? So be prepared for that. So focus now on speeding up the grind, sliding as far as you can, and dropping back in. The good thing about transitions usually is that if you miss the grind, a lot of times you'll just slide back in, but unfortunately with transitions, and it's just part of the game, is that sometimes when you miss, you're gonna take a good slam on the coping, and that's just part of the game here, boys and girls. Do what you can to mitigate injury. Try to slide down the ramp if you can. And then once you get really comfortable with sliding and doing all that stuff, you can obviously try different grinds. And it's my opinion that grinding coping really isn't that much different than grinding anything else. You really just have to make sure to actually let the ramp take you. Let the ramp take you up to the coping, slide. Always remember that you're gonna have to drop back in, so don't forget about that. And then start mixing it up. Start doing some top sides, start dropping back in fakie, whatever it is. Start having fun with it, doing some switch ups. So that's my best pieces of advice on learning how to grind coping. I hope this was helpful. Part of this, guys, is just reps. It sucks, but it's the undeniable truth about this. You know, I can give you a book on how to learn how to ride a bike, but until you actually get out and ride the bike, you're not gonna learn those little nuanced things that work for you that may not work for someone else. So that's the biggest part here. Everyone's different, everyone learns different, and part of it is just getting out there and getting the reps in over and over and over, and always be open to advice, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to buy Epic Grind shoes, use the link down in the description below, and we'll see you next time, rollerbeaters. Take care. Which one of these videos looks more interesting to you? This one or this one? Click one to support the channel and to support rollerblading, and I'll see you there.